In the quiet corner of a suburban garden, nestled beneath a thicket of rosemary, a newborn mouse lay trembling. His eyes were sealed shut, his skin pink and translucent, and his body barely the size of a thumb. His mother had disappeared, perhaps frightened away by a nearby cat, or simply abandoning her weakest pup. Whatever the cause, the tiny creature was alone, with no chance of survival, until fate brought him to Laura Bennett. Laura, a retired teacher and lifelong animal lover, had been tending to her herbs when she heard the faintest squeak. Curious, she brushed aside the branches and found the shivering bundle of life. He was so small I could hardly believe he was alive, she recalls. He didn't even have fur yet. Most people might have left the tiny rodent to nature's course. But Laura's heart told her otherwise. She gently scooped him into a soft cloth, took him indoors, and began a routine that would consume her life for the next 2 months. She researched how to care for orphan mice, made a makeshift incubator from a shoebox and a heating pad, and fed the baby mouse every 2 hours, day and night. With a fine-tipped syringe filled with kitten formula, she named him Pip. At first, Laura wasn't sure he'd make it through the night. He was so fragile, I was terrified he'd stop breathing, she says. But against the odds, Pip survived. Slowly, fur began to grow on his pink skin. His eyes opened, revealing 2 glossy black beads that always seemed to search for her face. Soon, Pip was strong enough to crawl, then climb, and eventually leap across her palms with delight. And through it all, he never stopped looking at her, as if she were his mother. He'd crawl into my sleeve and fall asleep curled up against my arm, Laura says with a smile. When he was scared, he'd run straight to me. It was like he knew I was his safe place. As Pip grew older, he developed a cheeky personality. He'd steal grains from the kitchen counter, stash them under the sofa cushions, and even playfully nibble Laura's earlobes while she watched television. But despite his mischief, his bond with Laura only deepened. Some neighbors thought it odd, a woman keeping a mouse as a pet. But to Laura, Pip was more than a pet. He was family. Eventually, Laura built Pip a spacious enclosure with tunnels and climbing ropes, though he always preferred being near her. He had freedom, but he always came back to me, she says. He'd sit on my shoulder while I read or write. He was a companion, in the truest sense. Pip lived for nearly 2 years, a good lifespan for a mouse. When he passed away peacefully in his sleep, Laura wept as if she had lost a child. She buried him beneath the rosemary bush where she had first found him, wrapping him in the same soft cloth he had slept in as a baby. Today, Laura still visits that bush. She says it reminds her of a time when love, compassion, and a tiny heartbeat brought 2 unlikely souls together. He was small, she says, but the love he gave filled a house.